I've been watching your YouTube videos for over a year, and I just watched one after another because you have such a great way of presenting these ideas that were brought up through mysticism and then out through the Course in Miracles and spoken about in Taoism and Hinduism and other religions in ways that are hard, sometimes hard for modern Westerners to understand. But you speak about these things in the normal language, using scientific terms, using everyday words, but in a way that the Western mind can really wrap their head around. Because you talk about the senses and you talk about feelings and you talk about the mind um, in very easy terms. What got you started on this realization and journey about the illusion?
Uh, uh, Going all the way back, I'm not sure. Uh, one of the See, I've written several books, uh, but I am dyslexic, and it's only been since technology has supported me uh, that I'm able to write somewhat clear
Mm,
in my books. It was later on that I decided to go into a more depth. Uh, One thing about dyslexics, they don't see the world the same as other people do.
mm.
They process information different. So some of my videos process information differently. Uh, Also, I use models because I think in terms of a complete model. So that helps for me.
Yeah.
And it helps people because the picture's worth 1,000 words. And 1,000 words is a lot for me to write.
Yes.
Uh, so that's where it started. Basically, it started with the senses, the recognition that our senses do not tell us anything.
Mm.
Our senses only take in information, and it is what is going on inside of us that interpret that information, and we interpret it in a way that fits our belief system. If it
That
doesn't fit our belief system, the information comes. If it doesn't meet what we believe, we throw it out. And it's gone, and we don't even recognize it. You say, well, that doesn't mean anything to me.
right.
So you throw that information away, and what you end up with is only things that match what you believe.
There's a lot to unpack there because that's a startling recognition, right? Because when we think of the senses, we say, I taste this brownie and I'm tasting this object that is three-dimensional and materialistic outside of me. And the taste of that brownie brings a sense of pleasure to me if my experience with sweet and brownie and chocolate is nice. And I see, the dog way out in my field of vision, which is in this three-dimensional world, and that seems real to me. And what you're saying is, and the pin that pricks me is very real because this very real pin pricked my finger or my hand, and that hand hurts. But what I'm hearing you say is that none of that is really real, is what's happening because it's everything is in our mind, everything is in our conscious mind.
Okay, now you have a lot to unpack because you pointed to your head and said, my mind. All right. Now, I know I may be jumping around, so I'm going to depend on you to kind of bring it together. But let me say this. Uh, when classical physics was developed, quantum physics was already there.
Correct.
So quantum physics is part of nature. It just didn't come into being 100 years ago when Max Planck worked with uh, super black hot objects. It was always there. But classical physics in its approach never ever understood the quantum world. When we did find it about 100 years ago, uh, the classical world said, well, that's just that very small stuff, and it doesn't affect us at all,
Right.
except today. Today, there's nothing that is not affected by the quantum effect. Even us talking over the computer, over the internet, it's all quantum. Everything is an interpretation. Now I got to slip back. Everything is an interpretation of the mind. Here's the point. Mind is in a quantum state. Mind is not in the body. So that's a whole new different approach than most people in the classical world will understand. So it takes some time to begin to change our beliefs around this process of understanding that this is an illusion. And an illusion doesn't mean there's nothing there. What it means is what you believe is there is not what's there. What you believe is there is not what's there. The problem is we only believe what's our beliefs. And if our beliefs, I got to step back. We
Sure.
only see what we believe.
Right.
If you don't believe it, you're not going to see it, no matter how much evidence is placed at your feet. The belief system is the strongest thing you have going in your life. It controls your life. If you want to change your life, you got to change your belief system. Period. That's the way it is.
Hmm.
That's just a step in that direction of moving into the illusion.
Right.
Nothing you see is what you think it is. And that's also in A Course in Miracles, the first lesson.
Hmm.
I see nothing. And I can't quote it directly right now, but that's the first lesson. You see nothing until you interpret that information through your belief system. And then what you believe is true for you. It doesn't matter if it's the truth. If you believe it, it's true for you.
Right. And this is why so many people get in arguments, and we often think because they're arguing over truth. I believe this happened. No, this happened, and my religion's better than your religion, or my taste in music is better than your taste for these in music for these reasons, because my belief is true for me, but perhaps not for you. Um, and and I think the senses and builds this sense of I, right? The sense of what I believe in and what is true for me, and what all the mystics are trying to do, and a lot of the religious leaders is say, drop the I and try and find the source or connect with consciousness directly.
Yeah, that and really the uh, the uh, senses were my first insight into. Well, they're not telling me what I think they are. In fact, your senses can tell you nothing. And you mentioned sound, uh, and from classical point of view, sound is just energy against your eardrums. There's no sound until that energy is interpreted.
Hmm.
And then the sound is either good or bad based on your interpretation.
Hmm.
So interpretation is everything. And I mentioned several times uh, a friend of mine who is quite black and white on a lot of things, said, I said to him, you can't see me. And he got upset. And he says, what do you mean I can't see you? I see you sitting right there. And there was another friend. And he says, do you see Mike sitting there? And he said, well, yeah. Well, here's the point. He's not seeing me as I am, what I call the thing in itself. He sees his unique personal interpretation based upon his experience and background and beliefs of who he believes I am, but he never sees me. And
Okay.
you can't see me. And Mark, I can't see you except through my interpretation of you.
Okay.
So you
So,
don't exist as you are. For me, you exist only as my interpretation. So I never see you. And it's the same way with the outside world. We never see the outside world. It's a mystery. What we see is our inside construction based upon our beliefs and values and moral judgments and all that kind of stuff. But we never experience the outside as it is.
so I remember well, probably every video that you have on your YouTube channel, and I will have a link to the channel running under here for folks, that you build these beautiful, you draw these beautiful, colorful models on your whiteboard. And I'm going to take a few screenshots and share them in the midst of our talk here, where you show the senses and you show the things, and that everything is just a pool of energy, a cosmic energy pool, and the eyes can only see one strand or perceive, or I don't know if I'm using the right word, a strand of this, the ears a strand of this, the smell a strand, our five senses, and that you're saying that, you know, this book that I have by Mike Faff on pain and suffering doesn't exist. It's just energy, but my touch and my sight form the vision of it in my mind.
Yes. And that was my second book, Outside Inside. The idea that you never see what's outside. So if you were, see, the inside interpretation is a map of the outside territory. The map is not the territory. That's a a wise saying from a long time ago. The map is not the territory. But for survival, the map gets us through the territory.
So all these senses are our GPS to get us where we're going.
Yes, and GPS is quantum.
It's
You can't
quantum.
have GPS without quantum effects. Every
Right.
time you have a diode, a triode, a microprocessor, you're in the quantum world. And we
Right.
don't realize it because it's so transparent to us. It just slips right through our fingers. And
Indeed.
we say, "Oh, I'm in the classical world. I'm in Newtonian world." That's a special case, a small case inside of quantum world. But we think it's all.
Right. And I'll bet you there's things smaller and inside the quantum world that we haven't yet been able to detect and see and measure in our 3D materialistic interpretation.
Part of that is due to our language, because through the classical world, our language only allows us to explain things in relationship to that world. And now
Right.
we're going into the quantum world, and language and the syntax of our language is not carrying there fast enough. We don't have a way of describing that and interfacing it with the classical world. So it looks like a mystery. And there are several advanced physicists and scientists and thinkers that are trying to come up with a way of explaining it so that it's understandable to how we've been programmed through the classical world.
So you've often said that you see nothing but yourself. And
Yes.
and you hinted at that a moment ago where you said your friend isn't seeing you, they're seeing their construction of you. But are they seeing themselves as you, or you as a subsection of themselves? I
So,
know people in psychology, people often say what you dislike in someone else is something that you struggle with in yourself as a kind of a
well,
parallel
yeah, that's a projection. We
projection.
project what we don't like on other people so that we don't have to deal with it with ourselves. That's
Right.
a ego projection.
But is seeing nothing but yourself an ego projection? Or
Yes, you because you can't see what's outside. All you can see is what you create inside. So what you think is outside, and we have that because we project our our creation outside, and then it matches. See, it matches the outside environment, the energy exactly. So my interpretation of you shows up in the outside environment, uh, and it fits perfectly. And your interpretation of me fits in the outside environment perfectly. And there, and it's just energy, but it's how that energy is interpreted that determines for the individual
right,
their world. So you create your world. But you, because of the projection onto the infinite field that surrounds us, that we're embedded in, you think the world is out there. There's a quote from the Course in Miracles that mentions that, and I don't remember what it is right now, but it's there. Uh, so the senses don't see, touch, feel, taste. What's one I
smell,
leave out?
smell.
Yeah. What's there? The senses don't taste anything. It is the interpretation of
Mm.
that information. Now we think it's in the brain. Now, if you look real close, and a lot of studies now have been done, a lot of theories that memories are in the brain, a lot of theories, and where they're at, and all kinds of ways they move. The mind is quantum. The mind, your mind, my mind, is a an extension of the one mind of consciousness.
Right. I believe that, and that the brain is like a radio tuner, just pulling in the signal of consciousness. And what I find is interesting, 20 some years ago, I read an article, I think it was from a German hypnotist, or I'm going to say physicist, who had a hypnotist. A gentleman had part of his brain taken out from a car accident. And there's the part and I'm forgetting which part, that deals with memory. And he couldn't remember anything because all this was gone. But under hypnosis, he remembered his entire life. Children, games, teachers, favorite toys. Out of hypnosis, he couldn't remember it. And the doctors couldn't believe it. And that's when this physicist started pointing out that's because consciousness is in a proton field or photon, something outside of the body that's just being pulled into the brain. and that the brain is just this receiver of that information.
Yeah, that's that's true. Because your memories, your belief system, all of that is not in the brain. It's in a quantum state. When it's in a quantum state, it's quantum information. And you have to have an interpretation between the classical and the quantum.
Right.
The quantum world is probabilities. Quantum world is expressed in quantum bits or qubits. And those qubits are just possibilities within this field, this quantum field. And when we try to find them, measure them, then you get into the observer effect.
Effect.
When you touch them from the classical world, which we understand the language and symbols and protocol, we only get one bit of information, either a plus or a minus. But the quantum bit is infinite. And in some understandings, as we go to measure that information, the quantum world shifts to tell us what the quantum world wants us to know.
Mm.
So the quantum world is the only world through consciousness that has free will. We do not have free will.
Right.
Why? Everything is interconnected. You and I, not on a conscious level, but behind the uh, uh, classical realm, there's only one mind. And we are extensions of that. And when we begin to move behind it, the oneness begins to come together. And Mark, at some level, you and I are the same.
We are. Look.
But
So,
behind that is something more than the
right.
physical. And that's
Right.
where oneness is. And in the egoic world, I say egoic world because everything in our classical world is ego driven. Everything. And this is tough to get because people say, oh no, my beliefs in a certain religion or a certain philosophy or a certain oh no, that's the only truth. No, it's not. It's not even true. It's
Right.
only true because you believe it.
Believe it.
You take your beliefs away from it, and it's gone. It's
Right.
just gone. That's the
So
way it is.
a lot of people still think we have free will, but I think they confuse that with freedom of choice. I can
Uh,
choose a bologna sandwich or a vegetable soup, but maybe even that has been predetermined, how we
it
choose
is.
and
And
why
it's
we
not
choose.
predetermined. See, it's not in my model, it's not predetermined. We're all dancing together. And therefore, we all support, whether not on a conscious level, but on an unconscious level, we all support each other. In other words, if you think about a jar full of marbles, and each marble is individual, you got this whole jar. Now, if you want to have you as a pure little pure marble to get to the top, you have to have the support of all those other marbles
Right.
to move you up to, and you are influenced by them and they are influenced by you. So there is no free will. Free will being, I'm not influenced by anything outside or inside.
Right.
It's my free will. You don't have it.
Right. We can't just go do and achieve what we want because there's so many factors supporting or not supporting those
Yeah,
goals
when
and
you begin to
expectations.
recognize that you're in this state,
Field,
you
yeah.
can change. You can begin to use the system to move you where you want to go. But
Hmm.
we don't. We think, oh, it's all fixed, it's all out there. The real world is outside. There is no real world outside. The
You
only
all
world you have is the one you create
right.
and project onto the outside.
Hmm. So what I'm trying to understand is we have these eyeballs. No, we have this consciousness which which we understand or interpret through our brain, and that brain is projecting a hologram of the world, of this three-dimensional physical material world in front of around us. Is that how that's working?
Well,
It's all the easy questions, Mike. It's the easy ones.
there's nothing exists until you measure it.
Right.
Okay. Nothing exists until you measure it. And you measure it through your belief system. So what you think is out there is your inside creation. There is no out there.
Right.
It's only energy. And I call it the infinite field of everything, because everything in an unmanifested state is there to have. And we create it inside what we want, what we think we want, and then we project it outside, and there it is. The world, your world that you have now, is a direct result of you manifesting it. So, you world comes from the infinite world, and so does mine. And we believe in the egoic world that it's one world out there. There is no one world out there. And that gets us into the many worlds principle.
Right.
That's a little bit different.
Well, that leads me to think that you are a projection in my world, you
Yeah.
know, but I'm also a projection in your world, or maybe you don't exist at all. I've just projected you to exist in my world.
Well, here's the thing, there is something there. You are taking energy
The energy.
through your senses. See, your five senses is the only way you know anything. That's the only way you know anything about this infinite field of everything. And you take that information in, and as soon as you do, you start throwing stuff away that doesn't, so if you don't have reference to the information, it's useless.
Right.
So you just drop that and you end up with a purified data through this process. And it's your lens of perception. So you take in this information through your lens of perception. And on the other side of the lens, after you've filtered stuff out, you have information or data that meets your requirements. And from this raw material, you create the world that you have.
So that includes all aspects of the world, not just me and what I do.
Yeah, all
Because,
aspects.
right.
It's just not
So,
you. Every
right,
object that you think is there
is not there.
is your creation.
It's my creation.
It's
Yeah.
the idea is you have this inside, and then you go through, see, that's your map, and then you go through the uh, territory and you bump into something. Now you look down at what you bump into, which is energy. You take that energy in, you manipulate it, throw out what isn't real, And you end up inside creating what this energy on the outside you bumped into is. It's not there until you interpret it. It's just energy.
I'm going to ask you something that may sound silly then. If I'm interpreting this energy, and right now I'm in my office and my desk is cluttered with books and all kinds of things that I'm reading and working on, why can't I just decide to interpret it as cleaned and organized without
Because it's
having to do
not.
the work of cleaning and organizing it?
Because there is something there. And you have interpreted the way you have. If you want it clean and organized, you have to change your lens of perception.
Can I will it into being clean, that I can change my internal perception over months or time to perceive the cluttered desk as a clean desk instead?
Yeah, it's going to be, the energy is going to be there until you change your belief system. Do you change your lens of perception? See, in manifesting, because that's what you're doing. You're saying,
Right,
I want to manifest a clean desk.
right.
You got to do something. You just don't think, oh, happy thoughts. Oh, I got a clean desk. And it happens. You have to change you.
Mm,
And that's what a lot of people don't understand about manifesting.
right.
They think it's a magical trick, but it's not. It's the universe consciousness telling you, you want a clean desk, you got to change. And when you change,
The desk will become clean.
the desk will be comfortable to you.
Going off on a branch from that piece, I purchased this book of yours, which is called All of Our Pain and Suffering, which is in a nice new title for the original one, All of My Pain and Suffering, because I grew up suffering with chronic pain and migraine headaches daily, in my life. And if we're saying that, how would I know to perceive myself being in pain from an infant? I mean, it was started in infancy. I was born in 6 months, in an incubator for 3 months. And then my whole life up to a certain point was in daily chronic pain and musculoskeletal pain, headaches, migraines. It was very difficult. So I went into a life of looking for a spiritual change and a holistic way of changing my thing, which I've done. But how does one, if a child doesn't yet have, or me didn't yet have a belief system in place, or did I on birth, then how did I experience that pain? It doesn't even have to be at birth. In childhood, when I can feel in fifth grade that the headache is so bad, I need to vomit. That is also, that feeling is not real. I'm interpreting it, and it's based on my belief systems. But where does that come from?
Well, then you ask the big question, who are you?
Mm.
Who are you?
Part of consciousness, or I
What is
am consciousness,
consciousness?
right? Energy.
All that there is. Okay. Now, do you want to change that? There
Yes.
are ways of changing it. You already talked about one. See, there's two ways of changing. Two ways of not changing. Develop your belief system. Two
Mm.
ways. Hypnosis and repetition. Those are the only two ways. You can talk about all kinds of stuff, but it'll get down to those two ways. To a great extent, your programming starts in the womb. Your I don't always like saying this because they're saying, well, mom has a great influence on how the infant starts.
Of course.
And so it's our fault. No, it's just what happens. You are influenced, your belief system starts in the womb.
Mm-hmm.
On a conscious level, you will never, ever be able to find those programs. But the subconscious mind uses them as your baseline. So what can you do?
Right.
There are different kinds of techniques, not well recognized by therapy because they're alternative. Hypnosis isn't all. You're under hypnosis most of the time.
Right. I get that.
And if you want to change your beliefs, this is what manifesting is about. If you want to change your beliefs, you come up with an affirmation and you say the affirmation once a day. No. 10 times a day. No. 100 times a day, every day. Same thing. I have some videos on
I think you have
manifest.
5 or 6 in as a series on writing a proper affirmation.
Yeah, because the affirmation is communication with subconscious mind.
Mm.
The affirmation is to repeat over and over and over, and through that process, change your belief system. Well, that's why kids learn. You watch infants put blocks together, put block on top of block, and then knock them over, and put top on top and knock them over, or these little rings they go over a stick.
Yeah.
And they put them on. They put them back and forth. They put them different ways, over and over and over and over, until they get them what looks right for them. So everything to change your belief system, repetition and affirmations. But to believe in the egoic world is, oh, I can manifest in
Right.
2 days. Anything I can manifest. And somebody else says, well, I'll show you how to do it in a day.
An hour. Yeah.
Why do we believe that? Because we want to.
Right.
I want to do work. It's from somebody else. I want a magical treatment. Get stuff that I want. Doesn't work that way. You got to do something if you want to change. If you want change in your life, you have to do something. That's just the way it is. And we believe we don't have to.
Right.
We believe it just comes to me because it is. Everything is there unmanifested in this infinite field of consciousness that we're embedded in. Consciousness is not holding things back from us. It's that we are filtering out what's already there. So it's our filter.
You often say that our memories are not real. Nothing happened the way we believe it happened.
Yes, that's true. Because the memories are constructed. The memories are not memories are in the quantum world. Quantum world, the information cannot be copied because it's probabilities and it cannot be cloned.
Mm.
So it has to be interpreted
Mm.
into classical symbols. So there is an interpretation which leaves most of the information unavailable to us because we just can't get it. This gets us into thinking about qualia. And you mentioned before about eating something. Okay. The experience of that inside is qualia. Now, in the classical world, we can measure everything. Everything. But Can't tell you what taste chocolate is. You can't measure that. Or what the smell of a rose is. You can't measure those kind of things. So that's the quality of your life. And that rests in a quantum state. You can't get to it except the meaning. Everybody says, what's the meaning of life? It's not in the quantum world. The meaning comes from experience in the quantum world. So we're sitting on the outside looking in.
Returning to our memories for a moment, if someone has a memory of um, being abused or beat up or a car accident, something that was had a negative impact on them, and say it's a decade later, that how one remembers that event didn't actually happen the way that we're remembering it because
That's
we
true.
keep reinterpreting it through our own belief system.
Yes. Your belief system may change, so the memory will change.
Mm,
Memories are not written in stone. They're
right.
written in silly putty, and they can vary. For instance, if you have a very good memory of something that happened, and today you are depressed, and bring up that very good memory, and you're depressed, that very good memory will not be as good because you will interpret it through your depressed mind differently than you did when you first interpreted. I'm
Mm,
saying interpret it, but you never saw what really happened. You only
right.
saw your interpretation. And when you take this very good memory through your depressed mind and it's negative or not as good, and you restore it, what happened to your good memory?
But the fact of a more gross effect, like when I'll just make something up, when I tripped and broke my ankle and I had pain and was in a cast for 3 months, that memory, the memory of breaking the ankle and being in the cast has to be real. But our interpretation of maybe how it
It's not
happened or how
real.
much,
It's your interpretation. That's not really what happened. It's how you interpret it. And at
because
the
it's
time
just
of it
energy
happened,
that we're interpreting.
yes. Now, here comes the energy, and you hurt your ankle. You're in anxiety. You're afraid. Maybe I broke it. Oh my God. Maybe I'll have to be out of work or whatever it is. It's going to affect your interpretation of that information. So what you have on the other side of the filter is going to be different from what's on this side. This is what you use to create your memory.
Hmm. You often say in your videos too regarding pain, for example, that if you break your finger, actually the finger doesn't hurt. You're feeling that sensation or interpreting it in your brain. But we end up rubbing the finger. It
Yes.
couldn't, I mean,
The finger, when it's broken, sends a signal.
through the nerves,
Yes, it's not painful. Not the signal. It's the interpretation
patient of the
of the
signal.
signal. Experience in the past with other pains, with other things that determine pain that's here. There's no pain here. Pain is what you interpret from your belief system. So if you want to reduce pain that's here, how you interpret it, you rub the finger, you put it in ice, you're changing the signal, and you will interpret it differently
Hmm.
on the other end.
Is it possible for someone to change their belief system so drastically that they could say that they could actually believe? I don't know if if it's possible, given the world, how we were raised and our beliefs and programming, that they could have a broken finger and interpret it as as a feather touching their skin and not as great pain. Still have to get it maybe fixed, but not experience that same great pain.
There has been uh, several studies done, particularly with special services. Uh, the first one I heard about was in Russia, where you have to complete the mission, but you are injured. And it is a mental process or hypnosis that allows you to disregard that interpretation. So, yes, you can do that, but it's not the way most people think, that
Right.
you're going to think happy thoughts. There are certain processes that you need to go through. A lot of times, I've talked to uh, students uh, that have come up and say, "Well, I'm going to be a therapist, psychotherapist, or whatever," and they say, "What should I really concentrate on?" And I says, "If you want to know how the mind works, learn hypnosis."
Yeah.
So that's one of the two ways you always change: hypnosis, repetition.
And we're hypnotized every day by the messages that we read and hear and are spoken to us and on the news and on the radio, and to that forms our belief system moment by moment and reshapes it.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. Speak to me. Let's talk a bit about the Course in Miracles, because I know that's a foundation upon which you work. Does the
Uh,
Course in
that I call that my muse,
your muse?
because I look at again, I look at it different from most people.
Yeah.
Uh, I first ran into A Course in Miracles long time ago, long time. I read that thing a little bit, and I did what most people do when they start reading it. The text is kind of silly. You gotta,
Right.
well, I'll go to the lessons. I'll do the lessons because that's easier. Uh, and then finally I said, this is baloney. And I gave my book away. Somebody wanted to write. I go, okay, you can take my book. And it wasn't until years later that I picked it up again, and uh, and it still didn't make sense. Uh, but I started reading the text.
Mm.
I read chapters, and I'd say, I don't understand what they're talking about. And then all of a sudden, I'll run into a sentence, and I'll say, well, that makes sense, and I'll highlight it. I'll go back to it, and then I go through two, three more chapters. Oh, there's another. There's a paragraph. Oh, I'll highlight the paragraph. And I got through the book. The text is a big book. It's bigger than the Bible. And then I went back and I read it again. And I found more things to highlight. So I used a different color.
Mm.
And I read it about 4 or 5 times. And each time something else bubbled to the surface. And I come to the realization that there's a lot of wisdom in that, but it's not on the surface. And so I begin to recognize that most people look at it, and there's a lot of discussion about it, and some of them feel, well, Course in Miracles is the old time religion, but in new clothes.
Huh.
It's not. There is some of that, but there is great wisdom underneath. And that's what I look for. I don't look for the surface stuff. Surface stuff people argue about, but the deeper wisdom, there's not that much argument. but you can't find it on the surface. You got to look differently.
Mm,
So I use it almost in every one of my videos.
yes.
I try to. I'll be honest. I look for those things that match what I'm trying to explain. And sometimes I find them, and sometimes I just can't find them. Most of the time I find something. So that's what I do.
That's wonderful.
I don't know if that helps your why I'm fascinated by Course in Miracles.
It does indeed. You have said that when the illusion dissolves, the truth unfolds. What
Yes.
does that mean?
It means the truth is not important. What you believe is true. So your belief system hides the truth. Not in all cases, because sometimes your belief and the truth are the same. But in most cases, they're not. And the truth is not important if you don't believe it.
Hmm.
So as you change your lens of perception, clarify your lens, you have less distortion. And then you begin to see what's really there.
Hmm.
Now, I say see. When I say see, I'm talking about all of the senses, not just your sight, all of the senses. And Course in Miracles does the same thing. They talk about, like the first lesson, uh, I see nothing. It's your interpretation. So that's that's some of the things that I uh, enjoy talking about in my videos.
Yeah, your YouTube channel is called Living in the Illusion. You have a terrific whiteboard with a terrific model on it where we see a visual of what you're explaining. And just those diagrams, those models have been extremely helpful for me in breaking through some of my beliefs to understand what you're saying, because I guess I'm hearing it and visualizing it and not just hearing it intellectually and trying to rationalize it through my own belief filter,
Yes.
because I'm seeing a map, the way you show the two sides of the veil or whatever, the two sides of, here's the outside, here's the inside, here the senses are interpreting this energy, here's how it affects this, is it's clear cut
Yeah.
because you're saying it in a way that's very simple and understandable. And you're having these models, diagrams, uh, as an illustration to follow along with you. I find that very helpful. I really enjoy them.
Well, thank you. And I encourage questions because I
Hmm.
know this material is just a little left of center or right of center for most people.
Yeah,
And and some people quit the channel because it doesn't match their belief system
right.
and they can't change their belief system. So they keep it the way it is. Now, the other thing is body is only a learning device for the mind.
Mm,
The mind, see, we got it in the egoic world, we got it the other way around. We think the mind is an emergent quality of the brain. It's not. The, the brain and the egoic world is a learning device for the mind and ultimately for consciousness to be aware of itself.
mm.
That's the way it goes.
Thank you, Mike. Very much appreciate the time,
Thank
and
you,
we
Mark.
will definitely see you again
Oh, we'll do it again.
for
Okay.
sure.
Bye now.